Well, hello, moviegoers, and welcome to Aaron's review. I am watching every film nominated for a major category in the Oscars. It's been a lot, going through a lot, doing a lot, watching a lot of films. Just kidding. It's been actually kind of fun and really nice to see all the different kinds of films that are being represented. Every year I watch the Oscars, and as a little boy, I really made sure I saw every film. And as a little boy, that was difficult to make happen because I had to make my parents all watch these films. But I haven't really done it in my adulthood as much, and for many reasons. This year, I really wanted to make sure I saw every film, and then I thought, why not share my thoughts about each film as I'm watching them pretty much around the time of the Oscars. And today is the film nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan feature. So let's get this thing rolling. So this will be a spoiler-free review, and just so you're caught up on the film itself, I'm going to do a 1-minute summary. This is where I have a minute to tell you everything I remember about the film, just as a summary, but so not anything that's going to give away too much or spoil the film for you, so you can still enjoy it, and that way you know what we're talking about, just in case you've never heard of the film. So I only have a minute to do this in 3, 2, 1. So A Complete Unknown stars Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan. And this isn't a Bob Dylan biopic. I wouldn't probably categorize as that. It's of a specific time. It's primarily focused in the 1960s when he first started out in folks music and his transition into electric, right? Going with bands and music and other featuring other things rather than just folk music. And him as kind of this elusive character amongst all these different people in his life, right? There's Pete Seeger, there's Woody Guthrie, there's Joan Baez, there's his first the girlfriend that is featured on his first major record that featured his solo. I didn't know much about Bob Dylan, and I don't think this really teaches you about Bob Dylan, but it is about this specific time period of his life in the 1960s. So basically 1960 to 1965, 1968, somewhere in there. So yeah, that is A Complete Unknown. So that was my 1-minute summary, and now I do a 1-minute review, and this is just to get off the top of my head all the things that I thought about the film, and then we'll go a bit deeper in the for me or not for me, and why this film is for me or not for me. Let's find out. But I have just a 1 minute to kind of give you just the gist of my thoughts. In 3, 2, 1. So A Complete Unknown, I liked that it was about just a specific time because it's really difficult to do a biopic. With this, he kind of is still a complete unknown, Bob Dylan. They make him very elusive, which I think is purposeful. They also don't paint him in the best light. He's kind of like he's obviously like an anti-hero, but really I was just feeling for everyone around him and kind of like, wow, his charisma, his riz must be really, really big because everyone seems to love him still. And when he's kind of a jerk, he's kind of the worst sometimes, but his music really speaks to you. And I like that time period of music, but I've never really been a big Bob Dylan fan. Not against him, just never been for him. And this made me love his music, but also Joan Baez. I was really rooting for Joan around the time or while I was watching it. So I looked at the music. I think it served its job of presenting his music to other people, but it's still a complete unknown. He's still a complete unknown to me of what what he stands for. Oh, I know what he stands for, but like who he is as a human being. And I think they wanted it that way. But I wish they went a bit deeper about him in some way. But that's not what this film is and why it's called A Complete Unknown makes sense to me. I'm going to let you know if this film is for me or not for me. So I don't give anything like 5 stars or say anything necessarily good or bad about a film, but just art is subjective. So this is what, if you like my opinions and my takes about things, maybe you'll like if this is for me or not for me. And this one is a hard one for me. I don't know if I can say it's necessarily for me. The music is for me. Like now I'm really feeling the music and the importance of Bob Dylan, the importance of Joan Baez more because these are both two folk singers that I like folk music, but I never really got into. And now knowing the history about Bob Dylan a bit more, at least at this specific time, and really not knowing anything about the history of Bob Dylan because they really do not go into who he is. And I think that, he's a complete unknown to all of these characters of his life. Not that they're the real people, but the characters of his life. That's something still intriguing about it. I really don't know much about Bob Dylan after seeing this film. He's still someone very elusive, and I think that was probably the allure of him, and I do appreciate his rebel. You know, no one wants to be put in a box, and no one's going to put you in a box, right? He's not going to let him. But the way he did it was kind of like running over and burning all the bridges of the people that really lifted him up. He's a human. We all do those things. So it's not a judgment, just how what they're presenting, right, as a film to us about who Bob Dylan is. I guess I would say, I don't know if this is for me. Like, would I watch it again? I think this is my first time being like, I don't know if it's for me or not for me. I think I would give it a light for me. Light, very light. Possibly a not for me. We're in the middle. I'm in the middle. There's a gray in life, right? Which I didn't know that he was such a civil rights person, which I'm glad that they showed that, which obviously should. These times are changing and blowing in the wind. Like, obviously he was Aaron, but oh, what? For me, sure. For me. No, not for me. I can't decide. I'm mixed up in my feelings about it. It really didn't speak to me, but it really wasn't bad. So a light for me. Okay, sorry for the outfit change. I just had to come back on here real quick and say that I rewatched a portion of it, half of it, with my dad right now because I told him to watch it after I saw it because he loves music biopics, and it's for me. I'm gonna say it. I think that James Mangold is really good. Romantic relationships between men and women, and that whole last portion when Joan and Bob are singing "It Ain't Me" to each other. Oh, so effective. Then that conversation between Sylvie and Bob. She says that whole thing about the plates. Oh, and he's just like, I feel like one of those plates, and that with the Frenchman, juggling it, and he said, "Oh, I love that guy." Yeah, the guy's probably great, Bob, to be the plate. Or don't ask for the moon when you have the stars. Just good lines. Those were some sweet moments, and really enjoyed that last act at the Newport Music Festival. That whole, it's great. So it ends up being for me, coming down to it. I'm a sucker for love stories. So what the love portion of it really got me. Now it's time for my erroneous thoughts, and my erroneous thought is going to be about Timothy Chalamet. I love the dude. Followed him since Call Me by Your Name. I didn't really know him much more before that. But I followed his work ever since then. I'm sure we all have because that was just such phenomenal work. He does a phenomenal job in here. But it's this like line of like, what is the difference between impersonation and being the character, right? Like taking on the character. What is that line of acting versus impression? And he takes his character on. Like I did believe that he was Bob Dylan the whole time. So it's not to say that he's doing an impression. I did believe in it, but it's just more of the question about, they love at the Oscars to award impressions essentially, right? Like Jamie Foxx with Ray. A good question, I think, as a thought as I'm thinking of like as I was watching it. I got lost in it and I really believed in him and I believed that he did a great job and he really did take on Bob Dylan as a entity and like the spirit of him. But sometimes you would be like, sometimes you watch these, like they're just taking affectation of their voice, affectation of their movement, and it feels like very like I'm doing acting. But he did a great job. Um, I'm interested to see if they award him with this. I don't know what y'all think. Let me know in the comments about impression versus acting. And I'm not saying that he did an impression. Just sometimes it's that line. Like it's hard to take on another person. I do respect that, but I get why Bob Dylan's a little miffed about it, even though I don't think he even saw the film, but he's miffed about someone just like, trying to, as he said, like impersonate him. So now let's go through what the Oscars have nominated for this film, and they've nominated for Best Picture and Director, and I don't really get it personally. I liked the film; it was good, but I just didn't see the Best Picture in it. I thought there was other films that I've seen that I was hoping to be in that. It's good, it's great. I like, it's fine. Does the job. Had a message about artists and how he boxed them in and like creatives, what music does and how it speaks to the time and politically what it can do. Fine, maybe picture, but director, no, baby. Like that, like it is fine directing. It's fine, but like there were people that really got missed out on opportunity to be nominated here, especially like John M. Chu from Wicked. I would be one. Nickel Boys. I loved that direction. I want to do director. Supporting actress. I'm very happy about. She really took on Monica Barbario. How do you say? Monica, you did awesome. Edward Norton, I love him, but this was like, okay, sure. A lot of the supporting actors, in fact, I'm just kind of like, fine, I guess you get nominated. Kind of a weak category this year. But obviously, Timothy deserves the Best Actor nomination there. Picture and director, I don't get. Maybe someone could tell me in the comments. This isn't made for me, right? So it's for someone else and they love it. I would love to hear how you love it. I don't get it. Why it's a picture and director from me. That's a complete unknown. You can now rent it on all streaming services I rent. I rented it so I could watch it. I didn't go to the theaters. 48 hours on Apple, and my dad can watch it now. Which I like that. Can we please stop that streaming services? Like, if I rent it, can you give me like a 2 days of it? When there was Blockbuster Video, you had a 2 day rental because it was popular. You had to bring it back. So if it's like a newer film, I get it. But and then maybe if it's an older film, I can have it for a week, right? Like, why? After I watch it, it goes away on like the Prime. I like that Apple gave me 2 days with it. Thank you, Apple. Happy award season.